Here we go. Alright, welcome to Football for Fun. Football for Fun, our weekly college football live stream. We're just going to break down the results of Week 8. We are going to react to the AP poll as we always do. I'm going to show you my own rankings because I got to do it myself if I'm going to criticize the AP poll. I'm going to back it up with my own claims. And then I'm going to give you my Week 9 predictions. So we're going to start with the reactions to Week 8 because there's a lot to react to and honestly, not enough time to react to it. I feel like I need a whole separate stream to do that, but we're going to go ahead and look at my predictions last week, and we'll go down the list here. We start with Miami taking on Louisville Friday night. I picked Miami. I didn't think Louisville had the team to come in and pull this upset. Evidently, I was wrong. As it turns out, Miami has a quarterback who can throw 4 interceptions and still have the audacity to blame his teammates, so have fun with Carson Beck, Miami. We Georgia fans tried to warn you. He's not that great of a guy. So don't let him play the victim all he wants. It does not change the facts. He's still a very talented quarterback, and Miami's probably going to be fine. I'm not exactly worried about them. Very good chance they go 11-1 and win the ACC championship game, but a loss to Louisville is not a good look. I'm still going to have them ranked fairly high because it's based on resume and merit, and they have a great resume overall, so one loss does not undo all the good that they have done. Louisville, on the other hand, they have played themselves into the ACC conversation now, so good for them. I like the Cardinals. Miller Moss at quarterback, very underrated there. Probably should have highlighted him more last week, but that was a miss on my part. Louisville got a big win. Not even that surprising in retrospect, but it happened. Good for them. So we'll see if they can keep it up. I think they're probably going to be favored in all of their remaining games. The ACC is very interesting because you got Louisville with 1 loss, you got Virginia with 1 loss who beat Louisville, you got Miami with 1 loss, they lost to Louisville, you got Georgia Tech undefeated, you've got SMU, they're still in the conversation, they're undefeated in ACC play, and I'm not sure how many people realize that, but there's a chance that SMU, Georgia Tech, and who else? There's someone else. There are like 3 teams that are undefeated in ACC play, but there's a chance that they all go undefeated, and then it's like, what happens? Who plays who? Who wins these tiebreaks? Like, I don't know. But it's going to be a fascinating storyline to watch unfold. And then you're going to have Miami, Louisville, Virginia. They all have 1 loss in the ACC each, so it's just something we have to keep an eye on. Sucks for Miami. That's a loss they shouldn't have taken, but it's not the end of the world. Louisville, congrats. You've entered the ACC discussion, and at that, the national discussion. Nebraska at Minnesota. What a letdown by the Huskers. Really, a huge letdown. Nebraska should be too good for this. There's no reason for them to go in and lose to Minnesota, and yet they found a way, didn't they? I didn't watch the game, not much anyway. I was watching Miami-Louisville while at a hockey game. Yeah, that was fun. But I didn't see much from Nebraska at Minnesota. It looked like it was really boring for a while, and then Minnesota just kind of stole it away and ran away with it, and I don't know, Nebraska's offense did nothing in this game. 6 points against Minnesota. Like, I'm not here to tell you Minnesota's a bad team, but they're not a good team. They're not someone you expect a ranked team to lose to. Ohio State beat them by 36 a few weeks ago. And I know that's Ohio State, but still, it's not like you're playing a ranked worthy Minnesota team as of right now. So, not a good loss. That was not a team Nebraska should lose to. They were more talented. They were supposed to be better coached, although in retrospect, are we sure Matt Rule is as good as PJ Fleck at Minnesota? I'm not sure at this point. Matt Rule needs to prove himself there. It looked like things were turning around under him in Nebraska this year, but yeah, that was a bad loss, and we'll see if they bounce back this week. But Nebraska definitely does not deserve to be ranked at this point moving forward. Duke taking on Georgia Tech. Duke was the favorite in this game. I picked them to win it. I thought that this was a good spot for Georgia Tech to take their first loss. I said last week, Georgia Tech and BYU, this was the week I had circled for both of them to take their first loss, and I followed through with it, and both proved me wrong. So, congrats to Georgia Tech. There's a good chance they are 11-0 going into the Georgia game. Goodness, that would be exciting, wouldn't it? Georgia taking on undefeated Georgia Tech. I can see it. I think that's a fascinating story. We'll see how far Tech can go. I'm not surprised by it. We were warning you about it in the preseason. Not a lot of people were interested in that, though. But good for Tech. Duke, I mean, not much to say about Duke. They're just fine. They're okay. They're not quite good enough to beat the best of the best teams that they play, but they're too good for a lot of the teams they play. So very interesting dynamic. Vanderbilt taking on LSU. Vandy was lower ranked, at least by the AP poll and by most polls, but they were the favorite in this game. I took LSU, so I missed all 4 games to start off. I missed the first 4 games. I got them all wrong. And I mean, that stinks. I went with LSU thinking they'd be able to control Pavia and that offense, and I thought that Vanderbilt's defense was a good way for LSU to find their identity in offense and get things going. I was wrong on both accounts. LSU's offense still doesn't exist, as it turns out. Vanderbilt's offense did exist. Pavia had a great day against LSU's defense, so not a good look for LSU, and I don't think they're done losing. A bold take, perhaps. I think they take at least 2 more losses, maybe 3, and I think they fire Kelly by the end of the year. That's what I think. I think Kelly is done at LSU. He was supposed to take them to a new level, and instead they're just getting worse under him. So, very weird dynamic there. But yeah, we're about to have the LSU job open, most likely. We've already got the Florida job open. They fired Billy Napier yesterday. Wasn't expecting them to do it when they did it. It was stunned me that they fired him after a win. I thought they'd wait and do it after a loss, or I thought they would have done it last week after a loss. But no, they're going to do it after a win. The timing is interesting. Maybe they're trying to make a run at James Franklin. I don't know. I really don't. But I don't know. We're about to have a lot of big jobs opening up. We've already got Penn State, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Florida. Arkansas is a pretty good job, too. They're in the SEC with an electric offense. Petrino's probably getting that job, though, being realistic. We're probably going to have the LSU job open up. I think Clemson's probably safe. I don't think they're going to fire Dabo. But yeah, a lot of good jobs that are going to be available. Going to be very interesting to track the coaching cycle when the time comes. Vanderbilt, though, one loss Vandy. Their toughest challenges remaining are Texas and Tennessee, I guess. Texas has no offense. Tennessee has no defense. I don't see why Vanderbilt can't win out. I'm sorry, they play Missouri this week, and if they get past Missouri, I think they might win out. I think at the very least Vanderbilt should go 10-2. I don't see them taking 2 more losses, so 10-2 record. I think that this is going to be a playoff team. How cool is that? We could get Vanderbilt in the playoffs this year. I'm all over that. Sign me up. Sign me up. The next few I don't have a lot to say about. Oklahoma at South Carolina. Oklahoma just controlled the game 26-7, about what you'd expect. Not much to say about it. South Carolina's season is over. It's been over, really. They do not have enough on offense to help out Sellers, and the defense is not good enough. They're just getting outmatched every week, and when they have a gauntlet of a schedule, that's unfortunate. So South Carolina's not done losing. I don't think they even make a bowl game. They got Alabama this weekend, so that's going to suck. Unless they pull off a stunning upset, which I wouldn't put it past them. They still have a lot of talent there. It's just not as talented as the other teams in their conference. Good for Oklahoma, though. They keep their season alive. Big game this weekend. Indiana taking on Michigan State. It was close for, a quarter, and then Indiana blew them out. So not a lot to say there. It was a trap game, and Indiana navigated it perfectly. Ohio State shut down Wisconsin, who for some reason still employs Luke Fickell. He's bound to be fired at some point, right? I hear that they're trying to keep him through next year. Let's hope not for Badgers fans' sakes. That would be unfortunate. Georgia taking on Ole Miss. Man, if you want my reaction to the game right after the game happened, it's on the channel. You can go find it in our videos, so I won't say a lot about it here, but great game for the Dogs. I feel great about our chances to win out here. Even if we take one more loss, a 2-loss team is still a playoff team most likely, so I feel good about the Dogs. Ole Miss I still feel good about. I think they're going to be a playoff team as well. They shouldn't take more than 2 losses. We'll see, though. Just hope they finish strong. Texas Tech at Arizona State. There's the next one I missed. Yeah, that one sucked. I didn't realize Tech was playing with their backup quarterback, and I don't want to hate on that too much because he had been playing fairly well for a backup and filling in well for Morton at starter. But the offense couldn't get much going against Arizona State. They had 7 points entering the 4th quarter, I believe. Arizona State's offense was able to score enough on Tech to build a nice lead. And Texas Tech took the lead late in the game, actually. They came alive late in the 4th, and they took the lead. But then Arizona State drove downfield, and they were just the better team. So hopefully they get a rematch and Tech wins in the Big 12 championship, because I'm rooting for Tech. I am. I got family who roots for Tech, so I'm going to be rooting for Tech. Big win for Arizona State, though. That's what they needed there this season, because otherwise they were out of it in the Big 12 race, and thus the playoff race. So very important win for their season. They stay alive. Texas Tech, I still think, is going to be the best team in the Big 12 when all is said and done, but this is an unfortunate setback for them. Hopefully they bounce back. Next one I missed, Memphis at UAB. I did say because UAB fired their coach, and there is precedent for this, they could suddenly play a lot better and pull the upset. We saw it with UCLA against Penn State recently. We've seen Arkansas give everybody they play outside of Notre Dame a big-time scare. I still didn't pick it. I still felt pretty good about Memphis in this game. I didn't think that they would struggle on offense. I thought they'd be able to score at will against UAB. I didn't think UAB was going to score too many points. And yet, 31-24 is your final there. UAB goes in and pulls the upset over Memphis, and Memphis, they're going to have to win out to make the playoffs now. They had everything lined up perfectly. That ruins their season, man. Good for UAB. Head coach available there. I mean, they fired their coach last week. The interim head coach might be keeping that job if he keeps it up there. Good for UAB. And in terms of the playoff race, Memphis, you can't feel good about your chances. It's probably, I've said it all along, it's probably going to come down to South Florida and Tulane. My money's on South Florida, but it's anyone's game, really. Whoever wins that conference is going. So Memphis still has life. It's hard to feel good about it. Texas A&M at Arkansas. The final score is a 3-point game, 45-43, or 42, sorry. Yeah, I'm not really surprised that Arkansas put up a fight. They've been feisty in offense. They give everyone a fight except Notre Dame for some reason. I don't know why Notre Dame was the team they couldn't keep up with at all. But no, they're giving most teams a fight every week, and A&M did well to keep up, or really Arkansas kept up. A&M had the lead for most of this game. It was not as close as the final score says. Arkansas scored late and made it a one-score game. A&M just had to keep moving forward so that they didn't allow the comeback fully. So it's nice that A&M can win a shootout now, and they can win a slow, boring slugfest like they did against Auburn a few weeks ago. They know how to win in multiple ways, and I think that's going to be very useful, especially when you get to January and you're playing in these playoff games. I don't know. I like Texas A&M. I think that they probably win out. They might take a loss somewhere, but you look at that schedule, where are they taking that loss? They're obviously better than LSU. They're better than Texas. Those are the two best teams they have remaining, so kind of hard to pinpoint a loss. It might happen somewhere. It would just be an upset for sure, big upset. A&M has a clear path to Atlanta, though, for the SEC championship. There's no way they lose more than 2 games this season. I feel like you can basically lock them into the playoffs, and that's not a crazy thing to say right now. So good for the Aggies, finally breaking through, perhaps. Virginia taking on Washington State. Washington State back-to-back weeks putting a scare into a top 25 team. Not a great look for Virginia, but maybe Washington State's just improved that much recently. I mean, they almost beat Ole Miss. They almost beat Virginia. They lost this game on a safety. It was really weird. But good for Virginia. They're keeping their season alive. I mean, with Miami's loss too, the ACC is technically wide open, unless you think Georgia Tech is as good as their record and ranking suggests, which I don't. No offense to them, but they haven't beaten anyone good yet. Virginia could do anything this year. They could lose next week and their season could be over. I don't know. But it's a nice story to watch. I like it. Washington State, it's nice to see you guys competitive. Oregon absolutely killed Rutgers at Rutgers, and this is so impressive. I know it's just Rutgers, and a lot of you would say it's not a big deal, but they were up like 40 points at halftime or something. It was ridiculous. And it's not like this is the Rutgers of old. This is actually a solid Rutgers team. I mean, I'm sure everyone expected Oregon to win fairly big. I'm sure the spread was like 20 points or something, but this is ridiculous. 56-10. Rest in peace, Rutgers. That's terrible. And Oregon, I've never really wavered on them. They're still my national championship pick. They were even after the loss to Indiana, so I'm cool with it. Texas at Kentucky, I watched the end of this game thinking, no way Texas actually loses this, right? They needed overtime to beat Kentucky. Honestly, Kentucky probably should have won the game, but they are completely incompetent on offense at times, so they managed to find a way to lose. They had guts, I'll give them that. And in overtime, they went for it on like 4th and goal, and they couldn't get it. Not the wisest play call. If they'd gotten it, though, it might be a different story, but they didn't. They failed, and then Texas kicked the game-winning field goal. So, really ugly game for Texas. I think we all know what they are at this point. It's just a great defense with an offense that doesn't exist, so then it makes sense that Kentucky could play them close, because that's basically what they are. They're a good defense, not great defense. But when you're playing Texas offense, your defense is bound to look great. So Texas has taken at least 2 more losses. They played Georgia and A&M. I will be picking Georgia and A&M in those games as of right now. So, yeah. So much for the Longhorns, eh? And yet, at the same time, they could win out and go 10-2 and make the playoffs. It's kind of weird how it could go either way. Alabama taking on Tennessee. Yeah, this was an ugly game, 37-20. Bama was never really worried. That pick 6 to end the first half, nasty. Just absolutely nasty. That ends the game on the spot. Tennessee was never in it after that. So, I turned the game off at halftime, and I never put it back on. There's no reason to. So, Tennessee, they could win out and still go 10-2, make the playoffs. Their defense is not going to enable them to do that. I don't know where the third loss will come from. I could see it being against Florida. It could be against Vanderbilt. They could lose both those games for all I know. And don't count out Florida now, by the way. They fired their coach, and teams change after that. So it's possible that with all their talent, they actually do something. But yeah, Tennessee, tough loss. But it's not over yet. Your season is not over. Only a few more games, and then we'll get to the AP rankings. Notre Dame taking on USC. I picked USC for the upset. I got it wrong. That's unfortunate. Both of the upsets I picked, and it was just LSU winning and USC winning. I got them both wrong. USC just couldn't do enough on offense. Notre Dame did enough on offense. That's basically the difference. I mean, Notre Dame was able to run all over USC, and that's what USC likes to do. They like to run over you, and they weren't able to do that the way they wanted to. Notre Dame got a lead, and they never really looked back. And, I mean, it was a nice game. It was good. USC always had some form of life, but you never really felt that good about their chances to come back, so tough stuff. Notre Dame should be able to win out. Their toughest remaining game is going to be against Pitt, and don't take Pitt lightly. I think they actually have a chance there, but yeah, Notre Dame should absolutely win out and go 10-2, and they should be a playoff team at that point. South Florida against Florida Atlantic, not much to say here. They just blew them out. It's another easy win for South Florida. Good for them. Missouri at Auburn. This one stank, man. I watched the end of this game, and I got I got friends who are Auburn fans, and yeah, I texted one of them near the end of the game, and I said Auburn was going to find a way to Auburn this. And by that I mean they're going to find a way to lose where no one else would have lost. And sure enough, in that moment, Missouri threw an interception, giving Auburn the ball back, meaning they couldn't lose in regulation. And then they went to overtime, and you're thinking, okay, this is fine. And what does Auburn do in overtime? They missed the field goal. So then Missouri has a chance to win with their own field goal, and I'm thinking, okay, Auburn's going to Auburn it, just as they always do. And then Missouri misses the field goal to win the game. So Missouri is also trying to Auburn it. Neither team wants to win. And then Auburn gets the ball back. They don't do anything. Missouri gets the ball to start second overtime. They get a touchdown. Fine. They miss a 2-point conversion, though, which means Auburn wins with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. And what do? They come up with the most abysmal play calling you could. You have a shovel pass on 1st and 10 that goes nowhere. You actually lost yardage. Then you had a run that didn't go anywhere. And then on 3rd down, pressure comes immediately, and Arnold couldn't do anything. Loses the ball. The lineman ended up with it. I'm not sure what the official ruling was, but all that needs to be said is the game ended on that. So, in the end, Auburn did find a way to Auburn it, and as a Georgia fan, I could see it coming before overtime began. So, sucks for Auburn. I predicted that they'd lose and Hugh Freeze would be fired. It sounds like they're not going to fire him yet, but when they lose to Arkansas next week, and I say win because I'm picking Arkansas to beat them. When they lose to Arkansas, Hugh Freeze is done. They are going to fire him either on Sunday or Monday. So, sucks for him, sucks for Auburn. Moving on, well, I guess not fully moving on, I should say good for Missouri. I would have liked to see a better game from you guys on offense, but I understand Auburn has a very good defense. Missouri, you'll be fine. Big game against Vanderbilt this week. If you win, you're probably going to be favored to go to the playoffs. If you lose, then I wouldn't feel so good. Cincinnati at Oklahoma State. Cincinnati blew them out. The game went exactly as we expected. The Holy War, Utah at BYU. BYU was in control for most of this game. I was wrong. I thought Utah was better than this, and I thought BYU was not that good. And finally, BYU gets its signature win. I mean, I know Utah is not amazing, but it's also the best win they have. It's also the best win Texas Tech has. So if we're going to go by that logic, obviously BYU would be considered at least close to as good as Texas Tech. Like, they got similar resumes in that regard. Difference being BYU has no loss. So, yeah, I don't have a ton to say on that other than, sorry, BYU, you were right. You're the better team there. Good for you guys. You have an inside track to the Big 12 championship. Don't mess it up this time like you did last year. You got a good chance, so take advantage of it. That's all I have to say about this week's results. I went 12-8, so not my best week, but I was due for a down week. It's fine. We're going to move on to the AP rankings. Let me take a quick coffee break here so I can rest my voice a little bit. We got about 30 minutes remaining tonight, so we'll go through it fairly quickly. I don't actually have a lot of hate for the AP poll this week, and I briefly reacted to it yesterday on a different stream. They have been getting their act together lately. It's commendable. I still take issue with a couple of things here, but at this point, I am mostly nitpicking. They did a lot of good here. I gotta say, they did a lot of good, so I respect that they're finally watching the games, or at least giving off the impression that they do, because early in the season, it was clear they're not even watching the games, so it's nice to see that they're actually doing things that make sense now. It was long overdue. But yeah, let me take one more drink. Alright, So we'll start at the top here. Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2. Honestly, obviously, those two teams go at the top. It's resume-based. Those two teams have the clear best resumes in college football. So there's no debate that those two teams belong at the top. Personally, I give the edge to Indiana, though. They have the better resume. And I've gotten some pushback on that, and I've not seen hardly anyone else daring to put Indiana at 1 and Ohio State at 2. I'm not afraid to do something unique to the rest of the world. Indiana should be number 1, but it's also close enough to where if you want to put Ohio State at 1, I'm not going to argue too much against it. I'm going to state my case and then be done. But the top two are clear. A&M exists alone at 3. There's no debate for anyone to jump them, not even Alabama. You can talk about your resume all you want. The wins over Georgia, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee, those are great. I love that. And if you were undefeated, you would be number 1. You have a loss to 3 and 4 Florida State, okay? That still happened, and at the time it looked fine. Since then, Florida State lost to Stanford the other night. Really, Florida State? What are you doing? Speaking of coaches who are probably going to be fired, they're going to fire their coach at some point fairly soon. I don't know when, but it's going to happen this season or shortly after. Alabama has a terrible loss to Florida State. They can only hope it doesn't come back to bite them. If they just keep winning, it's not going to hurt. They'll get into the playoffs at 10-2 as well, so Alabama should be fine. But if you're trying to justify jumping them over undefeated teams because they have 4 quality wins, let's also remember they have a horrific loss to Florida State now, because that's what it is. At this point, it's a horrific loss to a 4-loss team. So, Alabama at 4 is correct, in my opinion. They got that right. Georgia at 5, I'm cool with that. Oregon at 6, I'll have them lower, but fine. Georgia Tech at 7 is too high. Who have they beaten? They're undefeated, so they're going to be fairly high for me, but they haven't beaten anyone worth mentioning. At 4-3, Duke. 4-2, Wake Forest, who should have beaten them, but the referees literally robbed them. You can go search that up if you don't believe me, but it was actually egregious officiating in that game. I think Georgia Tech should be a little bit lower until they actually beat someone worth mentioning. Unfortunately, they're not going to get a chance to do that until Week 12, so yeah. We will see about Georgia Tech, but as long as they keep winning, obviously they should move up. I do question them being at 7 and BYU being at 11. I think that they're basically identical resume-wise, except BYU's actually looked better than Georgia Tech a lot this season. And BYU's best win is Utah, which is clearly better than anything Georgia Tech has done. You can't even try to point me to the Clemson win. Clemson's 3-4 at this point in the year. That's not a quality win. If that is your best win, then your resume is extremely weak. So, yeah, I think Georgia Tech should be a little bit lower. I'm gonna have them lower, but fine. It might just be a matter of how do you determine resume value, and if you just want to say because you're undefeated you should be high, then fine. But why stop at 7? Put them all the way up at 4 behind Texas A&M, and be consistent and put BYU up there too. Ole Miss at 8, okay. Miami at 9. I actually am gonna have them higher. They have a better resume than Ole Miss. They got a better resume than Oregon. They should be up higher than that based on resume and merit. Vanderbilt, I love that the AP put them in the top 10. I didn't think they had the guts to do it. They're a bunch of cowards over there early in the season, but now they're respecting Vanderbilt, so I love it. I actually have them a little bit higher than 10. So I like it. I like it. Good move by the AP poll, ranking them in the top 10. BYU at 11, fine. Notre Dame at 12, that's okay. Oklahoma 13, Texas Tech 14, Missouri 15. I don't take issue with any of that. Virginia at 16, fine. Tennessee at 17. I actually dropped Tennessee further. And I've been supportive of Tennessee this season. But you take a step back here, you examine their resume. They have an overtime loss to Georgia. Quality loss. They have a 17-point loss to Alabama. The team that they lost to makes it a quality loss, but the margin is not ideal. And then you look at their best win. It's Mississippi State, which I respect Mississippi State, but they're 4-3 now. Your next best win is Syracuse. They're 3-4. Tennessee doesn't actually have that good of a resume. The win over Mississippi State is good enough to keep them ranked in my eyes, but not that high. I'm going to have them lower. I've got them in the 20s. South Florida at 18, I'm cool with. Louisville at 19, I got them a little higher. I debated putting them even higher than I did. Part of me wanted to jump them over Virginia because overall resume, but I still gave the edge to Virginia due to the head-to-head win. LSU at 20, that's exactly where I have them, so I'm cool with that. Cincinnati at 21, fine. Texas at 22. I hate that we are having to rank Texas, but based on resume, yeah, I do think they should probably be ranked. They do have a top 25 defense, I'll give them that. Probably top 10, maybe top 5 defense. Like, they're great on defense. They just don't have an offense. So, it reminds me somewhat of Michigan last year, except I actually think last year's Michigan probably beats this year's Texas. So, yeah. Illinois at 23, I'm fine with. I can't believe a team that lost by 50 is going to be ranked, but it's probably the right call. Arizona State at 24, I don't have them ranked in the top 25, but if you do, I don't have issue with it. I almost put them there. My last 2 teams in and then the first 2 teams out, they were all really close to one another. So, anywho, Michigan at 25, this is the big thing I took issue with, because the first team the AP poll has out is actually USC. So USC and Michigan have the exact same record, fairly comparable resumes. Guess what, though? They played each other. Isn't that crazy? Obviously, Michigan won because they're ranked high. Wait, no. USC won by 18. USC beat Michigan by 18, and they have the same record, and they have comparable resumes. Shouldn't USC be ranked higher? You know why they aren't, though? It's because they're coming off a loss, and Michigan is coming off a win. So they decided, you know what? We love us some Michigan. We're going to rank Michigan here. We're going to rank Michigan, and USC's going to be the first team out, because who cares about head-to-head results? Who cares that USC obviously should be above Michigan? Not the AP poll. Man, what a shame, because the AP poll did a really good job overall this week, and they were so close to not having any big criticism from me. And yet, at the very end, just like last week, they had to do something stupid. It's so stupid to have Michigan ranked above USC. Even Michigan fans are aware of this. They just saw Michigan play USC. They lost by 18 points. I think it's a tragedy, honestly. It's terrible. They got it wrong in the end, but overall, the AP poll did a good job. It's just unfortunate they messed it up. We'll move on, though. I'm going to give you my rankings now, and obviously I think my rankings are better. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing them like this. But I'm open to the feedback. I will respond to any questions that are asked of it, because unlike the AP voters, I do answer. I want to be able to explain what I do, not just plop names onto a sheet and submit it for the poll. That's what the voters do. They don't have to answer to anyone. Here are my rankings. As I previously said at the top, I've got Indiana at 1. If we compare the resumes, because we should do that if we're going to debate this, Indiana's best win is Oregon by 10 points. Ohio State's best win is Texas. I think we can all unanimously agree that Oregon is a better win than Texas. Enough said. Okay, so Indiana has the best win here. Both of these teams share a second best win over Illinois. Indiana beat Illinois by 50 points. Ohio State beat them by 18. And it's a quality win for both teams, obviously, but when one team beat them by 50 and the other beat them by 18, I'm pretty sure the team that beat them by that much more gets the better view of this. So Indiana has the better second best win. Third best wins, I'll give it to Ohio State, but not by much. Ohio State's third best win is over Washington. Indiana's is over Iowa. They're both 5-2 teams. I think they're comparable third best wins, but Ohio State has the edge there. If you want to take it down to fourth best wins, then fine. Ohio State has a win over Minnesota. Indiana's fourth best win is Michigan State, I guess. Take it even further, fifth best win, I'm going to say Indiana's win over Old Dominion is straight up better than Ohio State's win over Wisconsin. All that is to say, I think Indiana pretty clearly has the better resume, depending on how you look at it. I think they have the better best win over Oregon, and then the dominant win over Illinois. I think that should be enough to put them at 1 over Ohio State. If you want to say that it is so close, and then at the end of the day you'd pick Ohio State to win, fine. I thought about doing that myself, because if they played today, I probably would pick Ohio State. I probably would. It wouldn't be comfortable, it would be really close, but I would pick the Buckeyes. So if you want to say the resumes are just 50-50, and you're going to put the team higher that you would pick to win, and it's Ohio State, fine, I understand. But I think that there's enough separation in the resumes there that Indiana deserves to be 1, so I put them there. And Ohio State goes at 2 because that's where they belong. A&M doesn't have the resume to really enter that argument there. They're undefeated with a few good wins, so they're at 3. Alabama, we've talked about 4 quality wins, 1 egregious loss now to Florida State, who can't stop losing. It's like they exercised all of their efforts into beating Alabama and then decided to call it a season. So, Bama at 4, Georgia at 5. There's some debate between Georgia and Miami. Georgia's got the better loss to Bama. Miami lost to Louisville. Georgia has wins over Ole Miss and Tennessee. The win over Ole Miss is one of the best anyone's got right now. Miami's got wins over Notre Dame and South Florida, so I think they're pretty comparable, and in this case, it just came down to who I would pick. And I know I'm biased sometimes, but I would pick Georgia over Miami. I would do, on a neutral field, absolutely. I don't see Carson Beck doing enough with that offense. He probably turns it over at least twice. I don't think he's that mentally strong. I do think if he faces us, he's turning it over at least once or twice. So, yeah, and I think that we're going to score plenty on that Miami defense. I thought they were really good on defense, and then I saw Miller Moss have his way with them, so I think there's some weakness there that was exposed. I don't know, though. They're pretty close. If you want Miami higher, fine, but I think the overall resume goes to Georgia. Ole Miss at 7, they still have a pretty good resume overall. We're going to count the win over LSU as a quality win, even if you don't like LSU, and we can all acknowledge they're not as good as people said. I told you in the preseason they weren't going to be as good as people said. It was really predictable. I mean, Brian Kelly winning a national championship. Feel bad for anyone who fell for that. It's still a top 20 LSU team in my eyes. Top 25. It's still a quality team overall. It's going to count as a quality win. Ole Miss also has a blowout victory over Tulane in their resume, so that's worth citing. That's why they're above Vanderbilt. The difference is for me is they both beat LSU, but only one of them blew out Tulane. Yeah, I am citing Tulane as a quality enough win. Like, that's a top 40 team, so it counts for something. Ole Miss at 7, Vanderbilt at 8. I love the win over LSU. You have a quality loss to Alabama. The final score is closer than it suggested. Bama ran up the score on them because Diego Pavia ran his mouth. So, yeah, Vanderbilt at 8. I'm cool with that. Oregon at 9. Oregon's tough to rank because their best win is 5-2 Northwestern, which, shout out to Northwestern, man. They're 5-2. That's crazy. They beat Penn State before they collapsed. You could argue that Oregon is the reason Penn State collapsed. I mean, if Penn State beats Oregon in overtime, and they very well nearly did, this is a different story. But Oregon beat them, and now Penn State is 3-4. So I can't look at that and go, yeah, that's a quality win, because what we're seeing happen is Penn State getting exposed and not being that good of a team. They've basically fallen apart, and that has to matter. So I give some credit for it, but not that much. I'm not going to sit here and cite Penn State as a quality win. Northwestern is their best win, 5-2 Northwestern. That counts for something. It's enough to keep them high in my rankings, and just utterly looking dominant. They're number 9 for me. Oklahoma comes in at 10. They got that win over Michigan, who the AP poll is pretending is a top 25 team this week. They're not. They should be just outside. It's still a quality win, though, over Michigan. That's about all they really have at this point. The win over Auburn no longer looks that good. Auburn's a 4-loss team now. They have a loss to Texas, which is a quality loss, I guess. Yeah, that's tough to judge, too. I feel like they kind of cancel each other out to some degree. But now that Texas is ranked, it's easier to look at and go, okay, the quality win overpowers the quality loss to some degree. Last week they canceled it out. This week it's a lot closer. Oklahoma at 10, BYU at 11. I'll kind of lump BYU and Georgia Tech together. BYU is higher because the win over Utah is better than whatever Georgia Tech has done. Win over Duke or Wake Forest, whichever you think is better. I like BYU better than Georgia Tech right now, so I have them one spot higher. They're both undefeated, but I need to see more from them. And if Utah bounces back and they start winning more games and it looks better for BYU, then that will naturally move BYU up because their quality win proves to be a quality win. Right now, I'm not totally sure what Utah is because they don't really have that much to lean back on. So BYU at 11, there's room to move up, obviously. If they keep winning games, they're going to keep moving up. But I still need to see more from them. They jumped like 6 spots in my rankings. Georgia Tech jumped about 4 spots. I just need to see them beat someone worth mentioning. Notre Dame at 13, they finally got their quality win over USC, who I do still have ranked. Notre Dame at 13 is fine with me. They have 2 losses, though. I'm not putting a 2-loss team above an undefeated team. I draw the line there. I put a few 1-loss teams above the undefeated teams because I think the resumes allow for it. Notre Dame has 2 losses, so I'm going to keep them below the undefeated teams for right now. I think that's fair. Texas Tech at 14, they were tough for me. I didn't want to knock them down too far for that loss because it was their backup quarterback playing. You can also look at it and go, they won against Utah with a backup quarterback, basically. So, I mean, it's really tough to evaluate. I think the backup quarterback has played so well that you don't look at him and go, oh, they lost because they had a backup quarterback in. Because I think that guy is worthy of being the starter in that team. He's played well enough overall this season. It's just he had a bad day against Arizona State, and the offense couldn't do enough till it was too late. And then when they did take the lead, their defense let them down. So Texas Tech, I think they've still got work to do. I said last week that I think they're good enough to make the playoffs undefeated and win a playoff game. Yeah, not a take that I'm too happy with at the moment. I think that could still be the case. I think at their maximum potential, they are capable of that, but they're going to have to prove it. Obviously going to have to prove it. That was a big letdown in my eyes against Arizona State. Missouri at 15. I mean, they don't really have a clear quality win, so it's hard to move them up too much. But aside from a close loss to Alabama, they're undefeated. It's a quality loss. Their best win is probably Kansas, which I like Kansas just fine, but it's 3-loss Kansas. So I can only put Missouri so high based on resume. They got a chance here against Vanderbilt this week. If they beat Vandy, then that'll do wonders for them. They'll move up. We'll see what happens. Virginia at 16, their entire resume now is they beat Louisville. I dropped Virginia last week because the win over Florida State lost value, and that somehow managed to lose even more value this week. Really amazing, Florida State. But now the win over Louisville has gained so much value that they've vaulted back up the rankings. So Louisville at 17 right behind them. I'm going to honor the head-to-head result when they have the same record. I thought about putting Louisville even higher. They got the big win over Miami. Their losses to Virginia, though. They have a win over James Madison that I feel is worth mentioning. James Madison has been a good Group of 5 team. Keep an eye on them. If they keep winning out, they could enter the discussion there. I didn't feel that there was enough to put Louisville above a team they lost to a couple weeks ago, so I keep them at 17 for now. I have a feeling Virginia slips up at some point, though, and Louisville gets to move up. We'll see. Cincinnati at 18, I mean, the loss to Nebraska no longer counts as a quality loss because Nebraska decided that they're not as good as Minnesota. So, yeah. And they don't really have that good of a quality win. Their best win is Iowa State, who has 2 losses. One of them a couple weeks ago, not a good loss at all. Iowa State was nowhere near my top 25. But Cincinnati only has the 1 loss, and they look good against bad teams as of late. So they're 18th for me. South Florida at 19. I don't know what their best win is right now. 3-win Florida. Boise State, a 1-loss North Texas team. They have a few good wins. They just don't have a clear top-cut quality win yet. So it's hard for me to really move them up. And they do have a blowout loss to Miami, so they're only going to go that so high. I have them at 19, though, which I think is very respectable for a Group of 5 team like this. LSU is at 20. Yeah, they've got losses to Vanderbilt, they got lost to Ole Miss, and they don't really have a quality win to fall back on. Their best wins are over Florida, South Carolina, Clemson. They got a few wins over teams that were supposed to be really good, and instead they're just bleh, not that good. They're still ranked, though, because I think that overall there are only so many teams that you can make an argument for to be in the top 25. And at this point, you go from 20 through 30. A lot of it can be who would you pick to win. And I knew I'm ranking Tennessee. I knew I'm ranking Texas. I'd pick LSU to beat Texas at least. I think I'd pick them to beat Tennessee, although that would be such an interesting close battle. Tennessee has an offense and no defense. LSU has a defense and no offense, so it's kind of the flip of each other. I give LSU the slight edge there. I think their best wins overall are better than what Tennessee has. I don't know. It's really close. I got Tennessee at 21. Texas is at 22. The way I see it, they have a top 10 win against Oklahoma. They also have a 4-loss Florida. So, yeah, I think that they kind of cancel each other out. And aside from that, their whole resume is just quality loss to Ohio State. Their second best win is literally Kentucky. So, you can argue for them to not be ranked. But watching them play, I would still pick them to beat the teams below them and the teams I left out of the rankings because of that defense. And I don't feel super confident about that, but that's what I'm going with. Houston at 23. The AP poll hasn't done it yet, but I'm doing it. I'm ranking them. They don't have a quality win. Their best win is Arizona, so I mean that's about as you could argue that's as good of a win as Tennessee has over Mississippi State because I mean Mississippi State and Arizona have the same record. So I'm not going to say that, though. I think Mississippi State is obviously better than Arizona, which is why Houston is not above Tennessee. But I am saying that at this point, there aren't a lot of teams that have a quality win that we're ranking here. Houston has a good record, only 1 loss. And they have a chance this week against Arizona State to get that quality win. We're going to see about Houston. We'll find out very soon if they're that good. I think for now they deserve a ranking. And the reason I'm ranking them and not undefeated Navy, by the way, is because Navy hasn't beaten any power teams. Houston at least can say they've beaten power teams. Illinois at 24, I don't love it, but I mean, both of their losses are to highly ranked teams. In fact, it's the top 2 teams in the nation. They're blowout losses, though, but also a lot of these teams are going to get blown out by Indiana and Ohio State, so I'll show some grace there. The 50-point loss to Indiana still hangs over their head. I'm not going to move them up much higher than this. Even if they win out, I will be very hesitant to put them in near my top 12. We'll see what happens, though. If the teams above them keep losing, then it might be deserved. But I like the win over... who did they beat? It was goodness, I'm blanking here. I think it was USC they beat, actually. It was USC a few weeks ago, so in my eyes, they have to be above USC, just like USC has to be above Michigan. So I do have it that way. I have USC still ranked. They have the win over Michigan. Michigan, one of my first teams out, so I view it as a top 30 win. And that means I view USC as a top 30 win, which means Illinois has a top 30 win. So I think these teams should be ranked. In my last 4 spots, it came down to Illinois, USC, and I actually had Arizona State and Utah in the conversation. Utah beat Arizona State, so I figured that means they have the merit to be above them. And Arizona State just beat Texas Tech, which makes me want to rank them. Instead, I just look at these 4 teams and I go, which ones would I pick to win? And I would pick USC to beat Arizona State. I would pick them to beat Utah. And I already know Illinois beat USC, so I decided in the end I'm going to put Illinois and USC in. But if you would rather put Utah and Arizona State in, or just some other combination of those teams, I get it. If you want to rank Michigan, though, you also have to rank Illinois and USC, because Illinois must be above USC, and USC must be above Michigan, so that's why Michigan's not ranked this week, despite beating what I had as a ranked Washington team. So, anywho, that's my top 25. It was really hard to rank the teams this week. I put a lot of time into this, I really do. I'm not like the AP, just kind of skimming results and putting stuff in. I look into everything, I try my best with this, and I know I still make mistakes. I'm sure that there are problems with this. At least I'm trying, and at least I will explain my thought process to you. At least I have a criteria that I work with, so I hope you guys can appreciate that. Hopefully I did alright. Let me know what I did right and what I did wrong, though. I will respond to any questions and feedback you leave in the comments. Now, moving on, finally, to end the stream today, it's going to be my Week 9 picks, my Week 9 predictions, all top 25 games. Some of them I'm going to go through pretty quickly here, partly because we're getting low on time here, and partly because some of them are easy. Like, Georgia Tech is not losing to Syracuse. They've got their backup quarterback in right now. I see no reason for Tech to fall in this game. I'm also going to say Virginia is going to beat North Carolina. I think just about anyone could beat North Carolina right now. I'm sorry, Bill. You guys are terrible. Virginia shouldn't choke here. It would be a little tragic if they did. I'm going to go with Virginia, though. Yeah, I don't think this site is updated. It usually has all the favorites on the left, but there's no way North Carolina's favored over Virginia, right? Right? That would be egregious. That would be really embarrassing. Oklahoma against Mississippi. I mean, you guys know I like Ole Miss. You know I think they're a playoff team. I view this as probably an eliminator for Oklahoma. Like, if they lose this game, because I don't think there's any shot Oklahoma doesn't take another loss after this if they lose today. I think that Oklahoma's done. It'd be their second loss. And by the end of the year, the loss to Texas is going to be like a 4-loss team or something, so not good. I think Oklahoma needs this game. I don't think that they fully know how much they need this game, because they probably look at it and think they can still win out after this game. I don't think they would. I think this matters a lot, but I'm going to take Ole Miss. And I don't feel confident. I really don't, because I think both of these teams are very good. I think that Oklahoma has not shown enough on offense, though, to be able to capitalize against this Ole Miss defense. I think Mississippi's defense is going to get a lot of hate this week for allowing Georgia to score so much on them. I think Gunnar Stockton just played a perfect game, though, honestly. Ole Miss's defense is not that bad. I think they're good enough to slow the Oklahoma offense. I think John Mateer is still not 100%. He still doesn't look like he's fully himself. They needed a heroic day from him at Oklahoma to get this win. I don't think they get it. I think Ole Miss is going to have the better quarterback play, the better offense, and the better defense overall to win the game. Oklahoma's defense will make some critical stops, and they'll keep them in this game. In the end, though, I'm going to say Trinidad Chambliss comes through for his team, and John Mateer can't do enough to keep up. So give me Ole Miss. Indiana against UCLA. I can't believe this is actually an interesting game, because UCLA keeps winning. They did it again this past week, so good for them. It's a really nice story. Indiana is not the type of team to show mercy here, though. They're not going to overlook UCLA. I guarantee you they won't. Indiana wins this one at home over UCLA. Hopefully it's a good game, because I think that's such a nice story for UCLA, but Indiana should be too good for that. Memphis taking on South Florida. Man, this game lost a lot of luster because Memphis went and lost to UAB. I was going to pick South Florida regardless here. I feel even better about it now. South Florida's been the best group of 5 team. They look dominant. Memphis just lost to UAB, and I didn't feel great about them before that anyway. Give me a South Florida somewhat confidently. If they lose, I'll have to drop them from my rankings. That would be a sad moment. Oregon is going to absolutely kill Wisconsin. That's not even a fair matchup, honestly. I'm sorry, Wisconsin. No, I don't know what you guys did to deserve this, but that's going to suck. Washington taking on Illinois. This one is actually tough because I really want to go Washington. Even though I know Washington just got shut down by Michigan, who lost by a lot to USC, who lost to Illinois. Like, thinking of it that way, Illinois should be the better team here. I also know that's not how college football works. I also know, looking at this matchup, Damon Williams against Illinois' defense, I think he should be able to be very productive. I think Washington's offense should actually be able to reach 30 points this game. The question is, can Illinois outmatch them? I'm not totally sure. It's tough to project that for the Illinois offense for me. Like, sometimes, yes, I should be projecting that. Sometimes it's like, I'm not sure. I am going to go with Illinois here, though, because I've been picking against them, and it keeps hurting me, except, against Indiana and Ohio State. But Illinois, I think that they can also reach 30 points. I think this is like a 33-30 type of game, maybe 30-27. It's going to be somewhere in that range. I think Illinois is going to pull away late at Washington. That's going to be a tough game, though. It could go either way. Vanderbilt against Missouri. Dude, I love this so much. It's a top 15 matchup. I'm going to take Vanderbilt. I'll go ahead and say that. I think that they are the better team. I think they have the better quarterback. I think it's going to be a fun game, but I'm going to trust Pavia more in this moment here. This is a big moment for Vanderbilt. Game day is coming there. I don't know the last time that happened. That's awesome. It's a big moment for Vanderbilt. If they win this game, I think that they are firmly in the top 10. They already are, but even more firmly in the top 10. I think they gain a lot more respect, and I think this is a playoff team. I really do. If they win this game, they are going to be a playoff team. So give me Vandy at home. All the good vibes there. Mississippi State against Texas. I'm so tempted to take Mississippi State. It's a team that hasn't won an SEC game this year, taking on a team that hasn't had an offense this year. This one could go either way. I want to take State. But I have this feeling that it's going to be Texas. I don't know. I have a weird feeling. I'm going to say the Longhorns win. Their defense shuts down Mississippi State's offense. It'll be similar to the Kentucky game a week ago. Texas prevails. I still think they lose 2 more games this year to Georgia and A&M, but I don't think they lose to Mississippi State. I don't know. I don't feel great about it. Iowa State taking on BYU. I've been planning to take Iowa State. I'm going to flip here and go BYU. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost, but Iowa State has not looked good all year to me. They're a solid team. BYU is also solid. The difference is they're winning all their games. Iowa State has 2 losses. BYU, coming off a big win against Utah, I think they're feeling pretty good. I'm going to say they get the job done. South Carolina against Alabama. Because they have Lenora Sellers, they have a chance. I'm taking Alabama. I don't think that Sellers is going to be enough to carry them to a win here. I hate it for South Carolina. They are wasting Lenora Sellers, and it sucks. Alabama should be able to win. Texas Tech is going to kill Oklahoma State. Moving on. Cincinnati against Baylor. I mean, for Daniel's sake, he's my co-host on Football for Fun. I hope Baylor shows up for this game. I could see it going either way. Cincinnati's been impressive. I have a feeling, though, that Cincinnati's defense continues to play well, and that's good enough against Baylor's very nice offense. But Cincinnati's going to be able to score, too. I think that they win a close game. Miami better beat Stanford. If they don't, that would be so embarrassing. Michigan should beat Michigan State. I won't think too much on that. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen, but from all that we've seen, Michigan should absolutely beat Michigan State. Maybe a 24-7 type of game. Let me go through a couple of these quickly as well. Louisville's going to beat Boston College. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me on that. Tennessee is going to beat Kentucky. Kentucky doesn't have the offense to exploit the Tennessee defense. That leaves us with 2 more games to pick here. So, Arizona State against Houston, who I just ranked. I am taking Arizona State because I think that they overall are the better team. I don't have them ranked because merit-based, I don't think they deserve it overall right now. They're in the top 30, though, so it's not like it's a big-time upset. They're one of my first teams out. It's like, there's not much of a difference between 27 and 23, which is what I have them at. So, I'm going to say Arizona State at home, being the better team, should win. Sam Leavitt, I don't know how you say his name, to be honest. I think he's going to have a nice day. I think Houston's got a good defense, so it'll be close, but I don't think their offense is good enough to win them this game. Leaving us with LSU taking on undefeated top 3 Texas A&M. This would be the type of game the A&M of old would lose. This is the type of game where they start to have that battered Aggie syndrome, and they're riding all the highs of the season, and suddenly it comes crashing down. This is that moment where they have the letdown. So part of me really wants to take LSU. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm going to say A&M gets the job done here. I'm going to say they prevail, and despite all of their errors in the past, they should be able to win this game. LSU's offense is not good enough to keep up here. A&M should be able to score with Marcel Reed at quarterback. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it'll be close, though. I'm going to say 27-23, A&M wins it late. And that's going to be it for my predictions this week. I'm going to lock them in. They're loaded. And we'll come back to it next week on Monday. We're going to review these. We're going to react again. We're going to do the rankings. We're going to make our next predictions. We're going to keep doing this all season because it's a lot of fun. That is going to be all there is to do today, though, because Monday Night Football is happening tonight, and I've agreed to commentate on the games. So I'm going to wrap up this stream right now. Thank you so much to anyone who's been watching. Really appreciate it. If you're listening and you haven't subscribed yet, we'd really appreciate it if you would. We are trying to grow the channel and get to 400 subs soon. Working hard, continuing to grind. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next one. Enjoy the week. Goodbye.